And hello and welcome back to class. Hope you are doing well. So we're looking at some different interventions and resources. And again, we're always thinking in the context of one's overall total rehabilitation. Again, the kind of the theme of the class, the theme of the textbook is a little bit beyond what we might do as PT and OTs, but being things that we might think about or being able to advise people on things that might be able to make a significant impact upon their quality of life. So, first up here, we're looking at, and it's actually chapter 19 in your textbook. Let me see if I can make a little change here, real quick. So, looking at users of assistive technology, the human component. And assistive technology can obviously have a big impact upon everyday life. So, it has a profound impact on everyday life and employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities, provides them greater independence, and enables them to perform activities that weren't possible in the past. Assistive technology is defined in the Technology Related Assistance of Individuals with Disabilities Act in 1988 as any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. So, assistive technology ultimately enhances social functioning, recreational activities, and work opportunities, thus decreasing consumers' functional limitations and helping to quote unquote level the playing field between people with disabilities and those without disabilities. So, assistive technology can have a positive impact upon self worth, sense of belonging, and the attitudes of others. Consumer involvement is imperative to the process. Initially, in the assessment evaluation phase of rehab, the rehab counselor should help the consumer identify the priorities and motivation for requesting assistive technology. These should be in the forefront throughout the entire process as they are key to successful implementation and use of the technology. Self esteem, self efficacy, and motivation are described as central elements in increasing a consumer's confidence and belief in self. Good outcomes and efficacy expectations, as well as strong motivation, help lead to successful adaptation to AT. So, the authors wrote this particular chapter to highlight or to present the human component of technology, the relationship between the consumer and the technology itself, and the acceptance and use by the individual who is then the consumer. So the technology helps to increase functional abilities, independence, and access to mainstream society by individuals with disabilities. As of the writing of the book, there are more than 20 million Americans with disabilities who are using some form of technology. One concern, though, is that a lot of people will abandon that technology, so upwards of 30%. So I guess a question is some technology being abandoned because it didn't have value, or is it being abandoned because something better has come along? So again, like I said, it could be that you're getting a new device, which is good, but then the other problem is there disenchantment or dissatisfaction with the particular product? How many times have you bought a piece of technology, some product that seemed like it was going to be something great for you, but just did not live up to your initial expectations? The degree to which a device is essential for a consumer's desired function includes one's particular needs and becomes crucial in determining whether the consumer uses or abandons the product. To avoid non use, the rehab counseling professional needs to identify and consider matching technology with aspects of the person's personality and temperament, characteristics of the setting, and the material traits of the assistive device itself. So, what is optimal use? Well, optimal use is described by Shearer as the optimal characteristics of the setting in which the AT will be used to include following stuff: support from others, so family, peers, and employer, realistic expectations of family and the employer, and an environment that fully supports and rewards the use of technology. Positive personality variables that the patient or quote unquote the consumer has is the motivation of how that, the excitement around how that AT will help them to accomplish desired tasks, coping skill levels of that individual, capability of that individual to use the device, depending upon, what their available functional levels are, pride in using the technology, patience, and self-discipline. Characteristics of the technology that influence consumer use include capability with the enhancement of other technologies that the consumer is willing to use, reliability, ease of use, problem-free and timely maintenance, and desirable transportability. So now looking at benefit expectations, these expectations involve what the consumer wants to accomplish by using the assistive technology, the desired tasks that are most important to the consumer. Aspects of technology that will benefit consumers are influenced by the positive and negative attitudes of others. Other areas that may influence continued use are things like social support, loneliness, isolation, and cultural identity. Research suggests that individuals who do not have a social support have increased chance of discontinuing the use of a recently acquired piece of technology. Looking at some characteristics related to consumers' acceptance and use include the level of technical comfort, their intellectual skills, their personality traits, their outlook, including pre-existing temperament and ways of coping. Technological characteristics are also a consideration. These include things like design factors, the weight of the object, the ease of setup, and compatibility with other devices. So research has shown that assistive technology has powerful influences on these factors or these part of the human experience. And let's kind of look at each one here. Attitudes. Attitudes exhibited by professionals are crucial in establishing trust and confidence in the counselor-patient relationship. When the patient forms a relationship with the rehab professional involving how to effectively use the assistive technology, the patient takes the position of initiating a help-seeking role. This role requires developing courage and trust and confidence in that professional relationship. So the vocational or the rehab counselor, they need to maintain the focus on the patient's best interests and have a positive attitude. If the professional brings in any negative attitudes, that could have adverse consequences on the consumer adopting the assisted technology. So the technology can have a positive impact upon self-worth. Technology both heightens feelings of being different and at the same time enhances abilities to interact with others. So some research by an author named Best found children with cerebral palsy who use assistive technology are more capable of interacting with children without disabilities. Self-esteem. So behavior and cognition are essential elements that contribute to learning, with an emphasis on learning through observation of others. This is true when consumers are adapting to the use of assistive technology. Self-esteem is highly related to an individual ability to accomplish tasks and goals. Concepts of self-esteem, self-worth, and self-image are defined as the total dimension of the self, with self-concept relating to a specific area in which individuals evaluate their knowledge, capabilities, and skills. An ability to cope with a problem rather than avoid it contributes to positive self-evaluative thoughts, which generate self-approval, thus enhancing one's self-esteem. Self-efficacy theory. This proposes that expectations vary in level of challenge, in strength, and in flexibility of self-efficacy. The level of self-efficacy a consumer maintains will determine in part whether he or she will accept, try out, or continue to use assistive technology in the future. When these 4 levels that I'm going to talk about in a moment are high, then the patient typically demonstrates goal-oriented, self-assured, and persistent behavior when dealing with technology. So these behaviors are the ideal ones. In a given situation, an individual knows what to do and how to do it. In the case of assistive technology, the consumer needs the knowledge of how to successfully use the device. Number 2, the person has the confidence that he or she can succeed in the activity. This relates to a consumer being self-assured that if given sufficient instruction, he or she can successfully learn to use the device or equipment. Number 3, the individual believes that he or she does what he or she does will have an impact on the end result. This element involves a consumer believing that he or she can learn to use the technology, and this will result in a positive outcome, in that the consumer will be able to accomplish the desired tasks with the use of technology. And number 4, the outcome is of sufficient importance for the person to want the outcome, the outcome that it will provide. Consumer or the patient believes that what the device or equipment provides is decreasing functional limitations and enhancing capabilities. And then the assistive technology also has a powerful role with motivation. Motivation is that inner urge or desire that prompts an individual to perform a behavior. Motivation produces a particular action or manifests itself as any influence that promotes positive performance. Generally, human behavior may be inspired, intrigued, satisfied, or provide feelings of accomplishment at any point in task engagement that reinforces an intrinsic element expressed as motivation. Assistive technology can provide motivation in many ways. Social rewards, so having more personal interaction. That may be a valuable thing. Deriving pleasure from participation or deriving pleasure from doing things like playing games on a computer. That type of thing may then inspire somebody to want to use a computer more for work purposes or for homework, for school. So I just talked about many of these things here. What I'm going to do is go slide by slide with some of the text that I had written out. So what you can do is I'm going to give about 5 seconds of dead air per each one. Each slide that as it advances forward, just pause the recording, read through it, and then continue on. Now it's getting into talking about some different types of motivation here. I'll let you go ahead and continue reading on with each of these types of motivation. Okay, now looking at some benefits and examples of assistive technology. Benefits reduce and at times minimize functional limitations. So examples could be different types of ambulation or movement devices, augmentative and alternative communication devices, reading devices, hearing devices, and things that help with managing self-care tasks like prosthetics or orthotic devices. So recommendations for rehab counseling professionals. The consumer or patient involvement from an initial assessment through selection and adaptation is essential to success with the assistive technology. By having the consumer identify priorities and desires, he or she wants to accomplish. Through the use of that technology, the REB counselor learns what is foremost in motivating the consumer to use the tech. A careful analysis of costs and benefits of assistive technology from the consumer price to selection should be made. Basic minimal cost solutions should be considered before expensive high-tech ones. Simple devices may be as effective. The devices should be durable, reliable, and effective. Provisions need to be in place for technical assistance, repairs, and routine maintenance. To ensure increased functioning and independence, which is the ultimate goal of using the technology, the correct match between the consumer and the assistive technology must occur. If not, the changes of continued consumer use of the device or equipment will be minimized. When recommending assistive technology, the consumer should be presented with any possible alternative choices. Each consumer has preferences, perspectives, and expectations. The REB counselor needs to realize that professionals and consumers see things from a very different set of perspectives. The degree to which a technological device is essential for desired functioning, the more likely it will be used. The counselor needs to make sure the consumer really does want the device and that it is not just something someone else really wants for them. The consumer needs the skills to use the device. It should be easy to operate and require little assistance from others for everyday use. So again, the goal of assistive technology is to increase functional independence for consumers who have disabilities.